So two innovation in the world of seaweed and in the food world of seaweed. And we really wanted to invite these two innovations, these two startups, because they are handling the problem in a different way. How to help people to eat seaweed. I mean, that's not in our culture, so we have to help the adaptation of seaweed cuisine. So we start with you, Denis. I mean, betta fish, you are mimicking tuna using seaweed instead of tuna. So can you tell us more about the story, how you get there, and why did you do that?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for this amazing introduction on the potential of seaweed, which, yeah, like you've seen, I don't think we can live without seaweed in the future. But unfortunately, what we realized on our entrepreneurial journey is that most of the consumers actually don't care about seaweed as much as we do. So we started working on a trick and a vehicle to make people eat seaweed on a daily basis without them actually knowing or the need to care about it so much. So we are the first ones to replace an animal from the ocean with plants for the oceans, and that's what we do at Betta Fish. We created a vegan tuna alternative, canned tuna more specifically, that has a content of 20% of seaweed. So it's nutritionally better for the body and has a huge impact on the maritime environment. And we launched the first products 1.5 years ago and are available across 8 countries already right now.
And so one of the big deals within is seaweed domestication, and we have very little cultivation in Europe, and you are trying to source locally, as you say. So do you have problem with sourcing, and do you get enough resource? I mean, we are a bit in the chicken and egg problem. Like there's not enough production because there's not enough demand, but then the new startups, they cannot really supply. So are you facing this kind of issue?
Not yet, and I say unfortunately. So this is the main thing that we're trying to work on, right? Increasing demand. So more people dare to go into seaweed cultivation and realize that they actually can make a living of it. Because right now, that's, if you ask me, the main hurdle for them. Why would they switch from fishing to seaweed farming if they can't pay the bills? So unfortunately, we don't have an issue in supply yet, but yeah, I think we're growing with the demand and increasing the demand slowly.
And bearing in mind that putting too much pressure on the stocks may endanger the species. I mean, are you trying to prefer using cultivated seaweed instead of?
Yes. So right now we're using both cultivated seaweed and controlled wild harvested seaweed. But our ultimate goal is to use cultivated seaweed only to protect the environment, to really control the seaweed that we're using, also to ensure quality. I mean, if we're talking about revolutionizing the food system, we need to be aware that the large corporations, they have very high quality standards and quality assurance standards that we need to meet long term. So cultivated seaweed can do that, but right now it's a mix still. And the seaweed we use is from Norway and Ireland, not France, unfortunately, yet, hopefully soon. But yeah, trying to source locally is the goal.
So yeah, just for you to bear in mind, I mean, in France, which is the second biggest maritime country in the world, we represent 0.01% of the seaweed production worldwide. So we are already in the Stone Age, and 99% of this 0.01% is a wild harvest. So we are yet to enter the seaweed cultivation stage. And indeed, it's important to support that, as you mentioned. What are the next stage for you? I mean, where do you want to go? Do you think like mimicking tuna is just a transition stage, or do you really want to end up with mimicking other type of food?
That's a really good question. I mean, we've been doing this for 4 years now, so we've been around for a while, and so this is a classic tuna sandwich, just in the vegan style. But this is actually not how we started out. So when we started out 4 years ago, we started with a different brand called Ocean Fruit, not mimicking any seafood at all. So we started out with creating seaweed salads, but seaweed salads in different flavors like beetroot and horseradish, mustard and dill, to make it interesting to the European audience. It works, yes, but honestly, it didn't excite too many people immediately. So we said, okay, we can't wait for the consumers to pick up, you know, the seaweed taste. We actually need to do something now to, like you said, aid the transition. So I'm 100% sure that at some point we will use seaweed just like we use spinach today in cooking. And I totally agree with you that we need to do that, need to learn how to cook with seaweed. but most of the consumers don't have time. They're not interested in changing their habits. I think habit change plays a huge role in the transition. So until then, we just deliver them what they already love and what they eat on a daily basis, but enrich it and enhance it with as much seaweed as possible.
And you can buy seaweed in any, at least organic restaurant, and more in normal store for your very product. Or where, I mean, if people are interested, how can they shop it? I mean, they can order online or not yet?
Well,
very large volume then.
Yes, very large volumes. So actually, we are just about to launch in France with some food service partners. But right now, the main markets is Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, the UK, and hopefully all over France soon. But we can learn something from you then, I guess.
Exactly. So yeah. So Vincent from ZALG, one of the co-founder of the company ZALG. ZALG has been awarded as the best innovation of the year last year to the biggest to the SIAL, which is the biggest food summit. Yeah, you have a different approach, a French way of cooking seaweed, let's say. So can you tell us more about it and what makes the difference in what you're doing?
Yes, first of all, yeah, our approach is to say, okay, seaweeds are great vegetable. You told it before. Seaweed is the most sustainable crop production base. You don't need to water them, you don't need fertilizer, you don't need land. We see the issue with water for agriculture. With Colorado, with Spain, with France now, is a huge issue. And we believe seaweed can be a solution. Seaweed won't replace anything, but if we add it to our daily meals, it can make the difference. And it's what we believe at ZALG is to make seaweeds your next favorite vegetable. But as a vegetable, you need to know how to cook it, how to prepare it. You don't eat raw salad, you need to season it. It's the same way with seaweed. So we worked with chefs and marine biologists to bring seaweed into a more convenient form of consumption. And we invent what we call, to make it easy to understand, the sea tofu. It looks like tofu in terms of texture, but it's 100% seaweed. It's really easy to cook. You can pan fry it, deep fry it, you can eat raw. And it's a very easy way to bring seaweed in the French cuisine. One thing we saw is that seaweed is not present, it's present physically in the ocean in France, but it's not present at all in traditional French food. So our first reaction was to say, okay, why is it not present? Why there's no great French meal with seaweed? Why is it only Asiatic style food that is bringing seaweed into our plates? And so we went first of all with our new products. We went to see Michelin-starred restaurants to present. We had to have the approval of people who know how to cook, and they liked it. So actually our first clients were Michelin-starred restaurants. But if we want to have impact, we don't want to create a high-end product. We want to create a product accessible for everyone. So it's now what we are working at, bringing our products to everyone through retail and restaurants.
Yeah, and you have to. It's such a shame we don't have picture, but these products are beautiful. They look like cubes. And for the French people here, they want to do with seaweed what the pomme dauphine did with the potatoes. And they are exactly the same. It looks like mushroom or, yeah, as you say, tofu. So it's fantastic and very good. I was lucky enough to try this. So you are working with chefs right now. Who are your customers today, and how is position your product?
Yeah, we work mostly with food service. So meaning we distribute to restaurants. And we also develop new products who aim at, let's say, replacing imported products. We saw that during the pandemic that buying products, especially food from the other side of the world, didn't have much sense. And so we are trying to develop new products that are today imported from Asia, and we want to produce them locally.
So they are all produced locally. Your
Yeah, all our products are, we use seaweed cultivated in France, in Brittany, and we transform our product also in Brittany. And we aim at distributing our product to in retail to everyone by next year.
And what's the story of the company? So you were funded a few years ago only, and you've been awarded. I mean, you can be French and arrogant if you want, and tell us about all the awards that you got and what's the way forward.
Yes, actually, it's a funny story because at first we were Tanguy Justin, my partner, my co-founder, is a food engineer, and the first project was it was looking into how to make how to create a locally produced chewing gum, and actually it was impossible to make it in France. But seaweed could be part of the solution, and we started looking into seaweed, and we were already passionate about the sea, about food, and we were already seaweed lovers. So we tried to. It was during the pandemic, and we saw that there were a lot of imported products. So we dig into that. We went to chefs with raw seaweed to say, okay, what do you make usually with seaweed? And we met Michelin-starred restaurants that were not able to cook seaweed when it was raw. So that was a starting point to say, okay, how can we make it more simple to cook?
And that's really core to the plate. I mean, it's something on the side in your recipes. I mean, they are really central. That's what makes a bit of difference to some seaweed that are used in condiment, mostly, notably the players. So can you tell us more about it?
Yes, exactly. The seaweeds have nutritional benefits, amazing nutritional benefits. Some of them are rich in calcium than milk. They are rich in iodine. They are rich in many minerals. So yeah, we position the seaweed at the center of the plate. We don't want to be just like a spice you add on your plate to bring taste. We really want to make it as a vegetable at the center of the plate. And we have in mind that in Japan, for example, Japanese consume 8 kilograms of seaweed per year per capita. So it's huge. It's our consumption of salad in France. So we don't pretend we'll eat as much seaweed in France in the coming years. But at least if we can put more seaweed into our plates, the balance of our plates in terms of environmental impact will be much better.
Sure. Have you faced any, maybe I will come back to Dennis, have you faced any problem with regulation? Seaweed is a new food. I mean, have you encountered any problem in terms of regulation for your sourcing?
No, so far, luckily not. This is mainly because we work with European native species, right? So we don't import any species from abroad, and the beauty is about using seaweed from Norway, Ireland, France, local seaweed, is that someone at some point used to eat it, so the regulators can't really forbid us to use it. I mean, there are very strong regulations when it comes, for example, to iodine levels, etc. So this was actually one of the main challenges we had to face at first. So putting our food scientist team on the task to process the seaweed in a certain way to bring down iodine levels to a healthy level. And with that, I don't mean that too much iodine is unhealthy, but to comply with European regulations mainly. So what we're doing is not just developing the applications, so meaning the vegan tuna or vegan salmon or any new species that are coming soon, but also the underlying R&D around seaweed, because our idea is to turn seaweed into a commodity for the food industry, meaning how can we turn this, slimy, green, whatever people conceive it to be. I mean, it's not slimy, but it's actually delicious when you take it out of the ocean. But how can we turn it into something the industry is actually able to use? So is it like a kind of flour, a kind of extract or whatever? How can we turn it into an ingredient? That's the work we need to do before we actually get to the applications. And by that, we also need to look and comply with regulations, obviously. But no challenges so far that we weren't able to solve.
What about you, Vincent?
Well, we are using only French seaweed, and they are seaweeds that grow in the wild already. So we're not importing species, and we work only with farmers. So that was something very important for us, because in Europe, 90% of the production is made from wild harvesting, while in Asia, the biggest markets, it's the opposite. It's 99% of the production is made from cultivation. So it was important also for us to find new markets for these new farmers of the sea, because cultivation for now, seaweed cultivated in France for now and in Europe is much more expensive than wild harvesting, despite it has much more environmental benefits.
And so we understand you are mostly B2B right now, you are not yet B2C. Is there any, I mean, if people want to try your product, where can they get some? I mean, which restaurant, maybe, or which service? And is there a plan to move to B2C at some point in the future?
Yeah, we are in around 200 restaurants for now in France. We've been selling our products for the last 6 months, and before we worked more than 1 year on pure R&D. Yeah, we start exporting also our products to other countries, and next year we plan to be ready for retail, so for everyone.
And if right now we want to try your product?
I would say...
Any address to recommend in Paris?
Actually, yeah, there are new restaurants. There's a new restaurant that just opened in Paris that's called Combo. It's a fast food restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
They do only seaweed.
Yeah, great one.
So yeah, there are new restaurants also coming in the coming days.
Very cool. There's a lot of positive allegation about seaweed. So do you think you are enough supported on that the existing label are supporting you enough to really promote and sell your seaweed, which are a bit of a higher price than the normal tuna, I would say, so far at least?
I mean, yeah, I mean, going to that price topic, because you also mentioned that earlier, I think to push a real revolution, we need to create products that are at price parity with the ones we want to recreate. In this case, a vegan tuna sandwich, a vegan canned tuna can. So price is definitely an important factor here. But are we enough supported in that sense? That's a really good question. I think there can't be enough support in general to really push that revolution. And we've had that talk actually earlier with another seaweed expert here in the first row. And there is actually, you can tell there is a reactivated interest in the whole ocean economy and regenerative ocean economy. But it's still a lot of talk within our bubble, I'd say. So the majority of people, they are still too far away from what's actually happening in 2/3 of the globe, like you said. You know, there are countries who don't really care about what's happening in the ocean. So we need an active discussion around what's happening there, how we can push the seaweed revolution and make it more interesting for people to consume it on a daily basis.
What about the next generation? Because of course, I mean, the easiest way to change seaweed perception in the public is really to deal with the next generation. Your products are really cool for kids, I think, both of yours. So are you working around this and with canteen, maybe in schools and things like this to familiarize kids with your products? Vincent, maybe have you tried something around that?
Yeah. We are working with local schools to try to offer our products. Yeah, it's very interesting from a nutritional point of view, as you said. But I think also kids are very curious. They actually, during a trade show or events, we were very surprised to see many kids going to our stand and trying and testing our products. And when we see group of kids, we usually have to hide our product because they eat everything. And it was really a surprise because for some people, seaweed is not edible and they have a bad image about it. Usually people from a certain generation in France that are very traditional. So yeah, we see that new generation are really open to discovering new food, and they are very receptive to the environmental impact speech.
Much more aware about the
exactly.
crises that are. What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the younger generation and the kids today are not the ones we need to convince, to be honest. They, like you said, they're naturally curious. For them, whatever we present them today will be the default they grow up with. So they don't question what, if we've eaten it before or not, because for them it's natural. Also, plant-based burgers, plant-based meat, they will never compare it to the original animal version because this is the flavor they grow up with. I think it's us, that we need to convince, and like us adults, we really suck at change. I'm really sorry, but we need us, all of us, to actually change and work on it and educate ourselves. But unfortunately, in that sense, we don't have time to wait for it. So in that sense, I don't believe in education, because if I would try to educate people about the benefits of seaweed, it would take us too long for actual impact to create. And so we need vehicles, we need ways to trick people into doing better on a daily basis. Because the kids will be all right. They will make the right decisions. I say so. It's us who need to make better decisions.